Hello, beloved subscriber. It's time for the next YouTube video, and today I'm going to show you how to build a RAG agent that lives as a bot on a Discord server. That was a mouthful. Now, before we jump into Cursor and we have a look at the code, I want to talk a bit about the systems architecture if you want, because this is essential to understand before you can even start writing or prompting any code, because, well, if you don't understand how something is working under the hood, it becomes incredibly hard to rebuild it, right? So for that, let's head back over to Affine and have a look at it. First of all, we have an indexer. And the indexer is essentially nothing more than a Python script that runs once per day as a GitHub action. And what this will do is it will check my YouTube channel for new videos. And if there are any that haven't been indexed to the database yet, it will go ahead and fetch the transcript. Now, the next step that we need to take is that we need to create document chunks. Because think about it, you have the transcript for a, I don't know, 3-4 hour video. Maybe it has like 10, 12, 15,000 characters, right? And you don't just want to put the whole transcript as one big file, so to speak, in the database, because you would have to pass the whole document to OpenAI, to your agents, and analyze all of the script every time. You don't want this. The point of a RAG agent is that we only feed relevant parts of the transcript to the RAG agent so that it can do its work, right? So we create chunks. And essentially, there are different solutions how to create chunks. I just asked Cursor to, well, write a Python script for me that does it. And imagine you have a transcript with 15,000 characters. And in my case, I'm dividing the text into chunks with 1024 characters each. So in this case, this would be like 13, 14-ish different chunks for the transcript, right? But here's the kicker. We also do something which is called adding an overlap. And here's why this is important. So imagine you have a sentence, and then you have a but, and you have the rest of the sentence. Maybe this is the 1024th character. So usually we would have a chunk here, right? But since this is mid-sentence, the rest of the sentence is also important for the context. So the next chunk won't start at 1025 position, but it will start at the 1004th position if we have an overlap of 20 characters, right? And this is essentially what adding overlap means. You can think of it as a small buffer so that we can pass additional context to the LLM for each chunk, if that makes sense. Once we're done with this, we want to add the chunks to the database. And for that, we are using a special database, which is called a vector database. Because we don't store the chunks as text or as plain characters, we store them as vector representations, which essentially is just numbers, right? Because if you look at LLMs, what they do under the hood, they just do a bunch of calculations. They don't see a word like YouTube as YouTube. They see a vector representation, aka numbers. And then they, well, as I've said, do some calculations with it. And this increases the performance of the output, so to speak. So in my case, I'm using ChromaDB because, first of all, it's open source and it's a vector database exactly for this purpose. You can also use other solutions like Supabase, for example, or I think there's another one like it's called Pinecone. It's up to you. The process is essentially the same. I just decided to go with Chroma and not with Supabase because I'm using Supabase all the time and I want to further improve the amount of tools that I can use, right? And this is essentially what we need to do before we can start to create the agent. Hey guys, this is Daniel from the future. Now in the following segment you will hear me say that AgentStack is a Python framework. That is not correct. The actual Python framework is CrewAI. AgentStack is a CLI that helps you to easily scaffold your agent projects. So think about npx create next app for scaffolding Next.js projects. That's what AgentStack does for CrewAI projects. Just wanted you to know this. And now let's jump back into the video. Now we indexed the transcripts and the bot lives on the server. What happens after the user asks a question? So for that, you have to know to actually answer the user question, we have 3 agents, which are called an AgentCrew, working on the task. And by the way, for the AgentCrew, I'm using AgentStack. And AgentStack is a open source Python framework, which is built on top of CrewAI. And essentially, CrewAI is another free open source Python framework to create AI agents. And AgentStack, as I've said, is built on top of it, which makes it even easier to scaffold your own agent projects. So I will put the link in the description down below. Definitely check it out. Now we have 3 different agents, as I've said. We have the research agent, we have the writer agent, and we have the editor agent. And each agent fulfills a specific task. So the research agent has access to a tool, which is called ChromaTool. And essentially what the tool does for the agent is that he can access the DB and can fetch relevant transcripts from the database. Once he found some relevant transcripts and formatted them properly, he will pass the results to the writer agent. The writer agent, well, he writes the answer based on the relevant transcripts. And essentially what the editor agent does, it serves as a control point, right, to further improve the output of the writer agent. In my case, I told it to change the voice to Major Kusanagi from Ghost in the Shell, just because I like the anime, right? And once this process is finished, we can see the output as an embed on Discord from the bot. And what this will look like is essentially at the top, we have the agent answer as a header. Then we have the text and we have some video metadata. So for example, the title, the timestamp, the link. And when the user clicks on the link, he will be redirected to the specific timestamp of the video and can basically watch the section to get an even better understanding of the explanation he has received inside of Discord, if that makes sense. I know this is a very high-level explanation, and I swear it will become clearer once we look at the code, but it was important to me to at least show you how it works, because otherwise you have absolutely no chance of creating the RAG agent with Cursor, because, well, you have no idea what you need to do, right? Now that we've done with that, let's head over to Cursor and actually start coding. First thing that we need to do in Cursor is we need to set up a virtual environment. So you want to run Python 3-m for module venv, and then we'll call it venv. As you can see inside on the left side, we have the venv folder. And the next thing that we need to do is we need to activate the virtual environment, because if we now run pip list, you can see that I got a whole bunch of Python modules, right? And those are the modules that are installed globally on my computer. This is one indicator that we're not inside of the virtual environment. So what you want to do is you want to type source venv bin activate, and you won't see much, right? But if you now do pip list again, you will see that we only have 2 packages inside of our virtual environment, and that's exactly what we need. Now that we can use AgentStack, we first need to install it, right? So let's run pip install AgentStack. This should only take a couple of seconds, and it will go ahead and create or install all of the packages for us that we need to run AgentStack. And now we can essentially create our first AgentStack project. And for that, you want to type AgentStack init, and you want to give your project a name. So I will just call it Discord Agent. And it says, do you want to install the update? Now, I'm gonna go with no here, because if I would hit yes, it would throw an error. And the reason for that is that we need the agentstack.json file to actually be able to update the AgentStack module, right? And now, as you can see, we have successfully initialized our AgentStack project. Now, before we go ahead and start to create the first files, let's have a look at the structure. So as you can see, we have the source folder. This is where our AgentStack project lives, so to speak. And you can see that we have two files. We have main.py, which will essentially start to run once we use AgentStack run, which will start our AgentStack project. This will, well, run the run method, as you can see here. And we have our crew. And inside of our crew, we can find our agents, as you can see here. Under the agent decorator, we have the agent Alex, and we also have a task which says hello world. Now, you can go ahead and delete the task and the agent definition, because we will create our own. Now, the next thing that I want to show you is the tools folder, and here you find tools that our agents have access to. Now, in this case, we only have the file read tool, right? And you can go ahead and delete this one because we won't need it for this project. And this will also be the folder where we create our custom tool that we need to give the agent the ability to search the Chroma database. Great. Now, the first thing that we need to do is, well, we need to set up our database so we can actually store some video transcripts, right? And as I've said, as a provider, I want to use ChromaDB. Now let's head over to trychroma.com and let's have a look at why I've decided to go with this tool for this project. So as you can see, first of all, it's open source, right? So you could run it locally for free without any additional cost. But the other reason is that ChromaDB was specifically developed for these kind of applications. As you can see here, it says embeddings, vector search, document storage, full text search, metadata filtering, and multimodal. All in one place, retrieval that just works as it should be. And if you click on Get Started, you can essentially read through their documentation and how you can set up your initial project. You can see that we need to install ChromaDB. So let's copy the command. Let's head back over here, paste this, and we install ChromaDB. Now, we also need to create a Chroma client, but we won't create the vanilla client, so to speak. What we need is the persistent client because, well, we actually want the data to persist on our computer and we want it to load from the start. As you can see here, you can configure Chroma to save and load the database from your local machine. Using the persistent client, data will be persisted automatically and loaded on start. Now, as I've said in this demo, I will run the ChromaDB locally, but right now I'm looking for some services where I can host the database so I can finally add the bot to my Discord server. And now let's have a look at how we can achieve this. So first of all, before we ask Cursor to implement this for us, we might want to have a look at how we communicate with the database. So first of all, after creating the Chroma client, we need to create a collection, and inside of the collection, we will store the different video transcripts, right? So you can see with Chroma client and the .create collection method, we'll create a collection, in this case with the name my collection, and then we can add some text documents to the collection with this comment, with the add method. And what we can then do is that we can query the collection. So inside of the current collection, we have two documents. This is a document about pineapple, and this is a document about oranges. And if we then query the collection with this is a query document about Hawaii, we will get the following result. As you can see here, from the above query, you can see that our query about Hawaii is semantically most similar to the document about pineapple. And this is essentially the result that we get. We get the distances for the two documents, and indeed the distance between this is a document about Hawaii and this is a document about pineapple is smaller than the distance between the other two documents, if that makes sense. Now, I have absolutely no idea how that works under the hood. There's some math going on, definitely, but we don't need to know about the specifics, right? We only need to know how to use it. And here's an example for how you can implement this in your own application. And if you want, you can check it out even more. But for now, we'll just head back over to Cursor and then we will use the following prompt. Before I show you the prompt, you've probably noticed that I've added some new documents inside of the documentation folder. Now, how I created the documents is out of the scope of this video. just check out other video where I show you how I create documentation for the for my projects. I will link it at the top right or left of this video, just so you know what's inside of those files. So essentially, it's just a simple project overview of what we're trying to build, right? The documentation for a module that we need later on, and we have the different implementation phases. So we have the ChromaDB integration, the agent framework setup, and the Discord bot development. Now, as you can see, we have to do a few things in the first phase, which essentially is the basic transcript fetching, the chunk management, and the local ChromaDB setup. Now, we'll start with this one. So this is why we'll use the following prompt. We'll say, please have a look at project overview to get an initial overview of the project, and then create a Python class called ChromaManager in source. And we'll probably have to be a bit more specific. So we'll do it like so: in the folder indexer that manages a ChromaDB vector database for YouTube video transcript. The class should initialize with ChromaDB's persistent client OpenAI embeddings, set up OpenAI embeddings using text embedding 3 small model, and this is essentially what handles the vectorization of the transcript chunks, right? Initialize or get a collection named YouTube videos, use .env for environment variables, implement these core methods. Now we need video exists, so we check if a video is already in the database using the video ID. We return true if found and false if otherwise. Then we have add video to collection, which also returns a Boolean value, so it's either false or true. We then add the video transcript chunks with comprehensive metadata, skip if video already exists, and we also include metadata fields for the video ID, basic info like title, description, author, channel ID, duration and timestamps, publishing info and thumbnail, and we want to store the timestamps in formatted form and the indexing timestamp too, and we return true on success or false on failure. And then we also have a function which is called query collection, where we search the collection using semantic similarity, return the top k matches with video URL, title, formatted timestamp, text chunk, and distance score. We also want to include proper error handling and type hints throughout the implementation. And now that I read through the prompt, I have forgotten one thing, which is in the add to video collection, create a proper embedding of the video transcripts before adding them to the collection. And now all we need to do is hit enter and wait for the result. Okay, it says, I'll help you create ChromaManager, and as you can see, we create a new directory in Discord agent source, which is called indexer. So we run the command, and now we have the new folder on the left, as you can see here. And Cursor will go ahead and create the ChromaManager.py file. So, and let's have a look at the initial draft of the file, and right from the beginning, I can see that that Cursor has made a mistake, because actually we don't want to make a request to OpenAI, right? Because ChromaDB has a method built in, what's it called? I think it's called embedding _ functions. And there we can access the OpenAI embedding function directly. So first of all, let's hit accept and let's walk through the code. So here you can see we initialize the ChromaDB client in chroma_db in the current directory. And this is essentially not correct, right? So we need to ask Cursor to remove this and to use ChromaDB's built-in function. The same is true for create the embedding. We have the video exists function. And as you can see, we try to get a collection where we check for the specific video ID. If this is true, we return the length. If not, it says error checking video existence, and then we add the video to the collection. And essentially what we do is we store the different metadata, so the video URL, title, description, author, channel ID, and so on. So as I've said, we need to do a little bit of debugging, and we need to tell Cursor the following. So unfortunately, you try to make a request to OpenAI to create the embedding, but ChromaDB has an already built-in function to do this, and it's called embedding _ functions. And more specifically, the method is called OpenAI embedding function. So could you please go ahead and use this instead? And you want to link the ChromaManager. Now it should go ahead and delete all of this here and replace it with the proper method. As you can see, ChromaDB.utils, we import the embedding function and we use the correct function. Now we need an OpenAI API key, and I'm going to show you how to get it in a bit. But as you can see here, it's correct, and this is how the file should look like. Okay, so we can accept that, and now we can move on to the next step. Now we actually need a way to test if it works, right? And for that, we'll create another file, which is called index channel, because, well, I want to index all of the videos of my specific channel. So we'll use the following prompt: create a Python script that indexes all videos from a YouTube channel into a ChromaDB database. Make sure that it works with ChromaDB or Chroma Manager. You will also find some functions in Chroma Manager that you will need for the following file. Like video exist. What's it called? Video exist, I believe, right? Video exists. Include. So first of all, we define the required imports and the custom modules, and then uses YouTube API data to fetch video IDs from a channel, gets channel's upload playlist ID, handles pagination with next page token, returns a list of video IDs, includes error handling and logging with emoji indicators, main function that initializes Chroma Manager, gets YouTube channel ID from environment variable, tracks the processing, statistics, total process, skip failed videos, contains this processing flow. So we fetch all the videos fetch all the channel videos for each video, check if already indexed, fetch metadata and transcripts, add to ChromaDB, display detailed progress with emojis, print comprehensive statistics, show summary of all indexed videos, include detailed console output with emoji indicator, processing progress, video information display, and so on. Format all video information display with title, author, duration, views, publish date, transcript chunks count, proper indentation and emoji icons, and implement error handling throughout with try except blocks, informative error messages, process continuation on individual video failures. The transcript should handle environment variables through.env and only run when executed directly. Call the file index channel videos.py and create it in indexer. So you want to actually link the correct folder, and then we need to hit enter and we'll see if this works on the first try. So apparently we get a bunch of errors, right? Because we have to install the Google API client and so on. And we also need another file, which is called YouTube handler. Don't worry, we'll create this in a bit, but let's have a look at the get channel videos function. So first of all, we initialize the YouTube API client v3. And for that, we need a YouTube API key. Don't worry, I'm going to show you where and how to get it. Then we get the channel's upload playlist. If we can't find the channel, we throw an error. And if we scroll down further, you can see that, well, we format the video info where we basically just display the information about the videos that we're about to index. And this is essentially everything that we're doing inside of Chroma Manager. Now you can see that, well, where is it? We have a few methods that we still need to create, right? So for example, the get transcript chunks, get video metadata. This is something that we need to create inside of the YouTube handler. And for that, I've prepared the following prompt. And let's go through it. So create a Python script for fetching and processing YouTube video metadata and transcripts. Include the following modules, and we have the following core functions. We need to get the YouTube client. We need to get the video metadata, a specific video. We need to fetch comprehensive video details using YouTube API. Okay, so we also want to include error handling. We need to have a function which is called get transcript chunks. For that, we use LangChain's loader, process and chunk scripts. Okay, now we need a few more things. So we need helper functions, because here's the thing. If we use LangChain's YouTube loader, the way how it does the chunking is it usually uses 30-second intervals for chunking, meaning if you have a video which is 2 minutes long, you get 4 different chunks because, well, 4 times 30 seconds is 2 minutes. But this is not what we want, right? We want chunks of 1024 characters with an overlap of 20 characters. This is why we need to specify this inside of here. As you can see, chunk size 1024, overlap 20. But for that, we need to add a helper function, okay? Because otherwise cursor will get it wrong, but we'll see about that. So we'll just go with this one, and then it says include comprehensive error logging and handling. The script should handle YouTube API interactions, transcript fetching and processing. And we also want to make sure that it works with our current files, right? So index channel videos and Chroma Manager, fetch the correct video metadata, and make sure that you use YouTube Loader from the LangChain community module. You can find code snippets and documentation in LangChain Loader, and this is exactly why I've created this document. Make sure that you only fetch the video transcript with YouTube Loader and the metadata with the official YouTube API, because this is a potential error, right? I'm building the project for the second time. This is one of the errors I encountered. So we can't fetch the title with YouTube Loader. At least I wasn't able to, because it would throw an error. Okay, so now let's make this a bit bigger again. Let's hit enter, and then we'll check if cursor will get it right on the first try. And meanwhile, we can install the module here. So the name is pip install Google API Python client, and this should resolve the import error. Okay, now let's have a look at the YouTube handler file. Unfortunately, it landed in the wrong folder, which is not a big deal. So we can do accept, and we just move it to the indexer like so. Okay, and as you can see, we also need to install pip LangChain community. And now let's have a look at the function. So we initialize the YouTube client once again, we parse the duration, and well, then we format the duration so that we can display it with hours, minutes, and seconds, right? We also get the video metadata, as you can see here, with the different information like video ID, URL, duration, published ad, and this should be the same as in the Chroma client, as you can see here, timestamp, published ad, and so on. And we also get the transcript chunks with the YouTube loader, like so. Now we probably have to improve this, because as you can see here, it says chunk size seconds 30, and this is what I initially explained, right? We probably have to create an additional function so that we basically can create the proper chunks, if that makes sense. Okay, now let's have a look at the rest of the file. So it looks pretty decent. What I want to do is I want to ask cursor if it's doing the right thing. Okay, so I see that inside of you pass chunk size seconds equal 30 in the YouTube loader, and I know the standard of YouTube loader is that it chunks in 30-second intervals. I want to create chunks from the transcript that have a size of 1024 characters. So I wonder if we already do this, or if there might be some errors and if we have to change something. So you probably have to create an additional helper function or do something in the get transcript chunks function so that you properly handle the chunking process. But before we send the request, actually what we need to do is we need to add the YouTube API key, and we also have to add the OpenAI API key. So for that, we'll head over to the browser. And we have to go to console.cloud.google.com. And let me quickly change or switch to my main account. And you have to create an account. Then you will probably have some dummy project at the top. So you then want to click on the project, create a new project. So I will just use this current one. And you want to go through the setup process. This should only take a couple of seconds, but you will have to link a billing account. And don't worry, you don't have to pay anything, because once you sign up, Google will give you, I think it's around $300 worth of free credits. But you want to click on the three bars, click on billing, manage billing accounts, and then you want to click create an account. You have to, well, link your credit card information, but you won't be billed, right? Unless you spend more than $300, but that's unlikely with this kind of project. And then you want to click on APIs and services. You want to search for YouTube. And here you want to choose the YouTube Data API v3. And for you, it will say enable, right? I've already enabled it for this project. This is why it says manage. And then we need an API key, as I've said, right? So you want to go to credentials. And here, as you can see, I've already created 2 API keys. What you need to do is you want to click on Create Credentials, API key. This only takes a few seconds, and then you will find your new API key like so, and it appears inside of the list. So let me quickly delete that one, and I will choose the other API key. And then what you need to do is you need to paste it here, and we also need the OpenAI API key. And for that, you want to head over to platform.openai.com. You want to create an account. If you haven't created one yet, click on your profile, and here on the left it says API keys, and then you also want to create new secret key. You want to choose the default project, give it a name, and then create secret key. As you can see, I've already created one, so this is why I will use my API key from the different project. Come back to the .env file, paste it here. So I will quickly do this, and then we can test if the indexing already works. Probably not. As I've said, we have to do a few changes, but let's see. And what we also need is the YouTube channel ID, right? So how do we get this? Head over to youtube.com. So head over to youtube.com, and here you want to, well, choose your channel that you need the ID of. Then you want to click on your videos, and here inside of the URL field you find the channel ID, right? It says UCF blah 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 blah. So I will just copy that, head over to the .env file, and cursor already auto completes what I want to do, and then you want to paste it without the slash. And now I will add the other variables, and then we test the ChromaDB connection. And now all we need to do is we need to run the script. Okay, so Python 3, and well, make sure that you're in the correct directory. So cd into Discord agent, and then you want to do Python 3 source index channel. Okay, we get an error, so we probably want to run it as a module. So source index channel videos.py, and this should work. So let's see what we get. Okay, we get another error where it says try using source index channel instead of source index channel. Okay, so yeah, my bad, that was incorrect. So we'll do it like so. Okay, we get something. It says YouTube channel indexing process, but then we get an immediate error where it says no module named OpenAI. And yeah, we still need to install this OpenAI. Okay, now let's try that again. Okay, we get another error, and the reason for that, because my dumbass hasn't deleted the well, hashtag sign, which essentially creates a comment. So let me quickly do this inside of the .env file, and then we'll try it again. One more time. Okay, let's quickly stop this. As you can see, it already works, right? So let's have a look at what's happening. Processing video, fetching video metadata and transcript, successfully fetched metadata. And we're fetching the transcript, but we get an error because we haven't installed YouTube Transcript API. So let's quickly do this. And we probably also have to install a few other things that I've forgotten about. So let's quickly head over here and let's look at the LangChain YouTube loader. So if we scroll down, you can see that we need to install all of those packages. Google API Python client, we've already done this, but we need to install the other packages too. So let's do it like so. Pip install, we'll paste that here, and we'll delete that. But as you can see here in the project directory, we created a new folder, chroma_db, with the correct database file, right? So let's quickly run this again, and we get another error where it says error processing transcript. We also need to install the PyTube package, and now we probably get yet another error. What does it say now? Error processing transcript, exception while accessing title of video, yada. And the reason for that is that we are trying to fetch the title with YouTube loader, but this doesn't work, right? So you want to do the following. You want to copy some of the messages, and you want to, first of all, I need to store this somewhere safe so that we can use it later on, because I don't want to write that again. Then you want to copy that, head over here, paste it, and you want to say, okay, so we get this error. And the reason for this is that we probably try to fetch the title with YouTube loader from LangChain, but this doesn't work. And I've already told you that we need to fetch the metadata with the official YouTube API and only fetch the transcript with LangChain. However, don't just delete LangChain and and use a different package, we need to use the LangChain YouTube loader. Please change all of the files to make it work. And then you want to link Chroma Manager, index channel, and we also want to link YouTube handler. Enter, and Cursor will probably say something like, yeah, I understand the issue. We need to separate the metadata fetching using YouTube API from transcript fetching using LangChain. More clearly, let me modify the get transcript chunks function in YouTube handler. So let's have a look at YouTube handler. Unfortunately, Cursor created the file again in the wrong directory, but that's not a big deal. Okay, it says, I see that the model didn't keep all of the necessary code. Okay, so we'll do accept, and we'll tell, okay, yeah, we already have, and we want to link the YouTube handler, but the correct one, right? Which is in indexer. And you just created a duplicate, and where is it? It's inside of tools, right? Please use the correct one in indexer and delete the other one. Keep the changes that I told you with, what's it called? The proper separation. Add the new changes to the correct file and delete the old one. So you want to hit enter. We could do this manually, but what's the point, right? If we have Cursor, let's just use it. So we delete YouTube handler inside of the tools folder, as you can see, and then Cursor will go ahead and update the correct YouTube handler file. And again, we probably have to do one more change in a way that, well, we don't want to have 30-second chunks, but 1024 character chunks, if you remember. Let's wait until Cursor is finished, and then we'll try that one more time. So let's do accept, and we run the module. So right away, we can see that it worked, but unfortunately we only have one transcript. For that video it's correct because, well, it's just a short, right? So you can see processing video, fetching video metadata, successfully fetched metadata. Did you know this is the title and this is the URL? Now we have this sample of the first chunk, and this is unfortunately not correct, right? Because it says start 00, end 00. So we still need to change something in Chroma Manager. But other than that, we get the data, which is pretty awesome. So maybe let's do the following. Let's run it for a bit longer. Let's see. So you can see that we skipped the first video, right? Because we've already successfully edited it. As you can see here, processing video 1, video already index skipping. So this part of the Chroma Manager function or index channel videos file works. And for the second video, we have a sample of the first chunk. Okay. The question is if one transcript chunk is the whole video or if it really just the first sample. But since we skip to the third video, I guess there's still something off with how we store the transcript. So you want to do the following. Again, you want to copy all of that and you want to paste that here. And you want to tell Cursor, so the transcript fetching kind of works, but if you have a look at the start and end times for the different chunks, you see that both are 0. So there is something off. And the other thing is that it seems that we only store the transcript as one big chunk. Now, I know that the standard implementation of LangChain YouTube loader is to store chunks in 30-second intervals, but I want to have chunks of 1024 characters with an overlap of 20 characters. So I guess we need a way to properly map the timestamps to that specific chunk, if that makes sense, and then it should work. So this might be not a good explanation. So could you please go ahead and, before you write any code, repeat in your own words what I just told you and what your objective is. And again, guys, it's just my English that, well, is not good enough to properly explain what I want. So this is probably a bit too shallow. So I want to ask Cursor to repeat back to me what I just told it. And then we'll double check if it understood the assignment. And if so, we then ask it to create the code. So it says, let me summarize what I understand. The timestamps, start and end times in our chunks are all showing as 0, which is incorrect. incorrect. We're getting one large chunk of text instead of properly sized chunks. We're not properly mapping the original video timestamps to our character-based chunks. What we want, instead of using LangChain's default 30-second interval chunks, we want chunks of 1024 characters each, an overlap of 20 characters between the chunks, and each chunk should have accurate start end times that correspond to the actual video timestamps. The timestamps should reflect when that specific text portion appears in the video. And the challenge, we need to maintain the relationship between the text and its original timestamps while we rechunk the text. When we create a new chunk of 1024 characters, we need to figure out what timestamp range that chunk corresponds to. Surprisingly, this is pretty correct. And is this what you're looking for? If so, we need to get the raw transcript with timestamps from LangChain, keep track of the timestamps as we combine the text into our desired chunk sizes, and then map the start time from the first piece of our text chunk and the end time from the last piece. Okay. Yeah, I confirm. Please go ahead and make the corresponding changes to the code, and then we'll hit enter. And by the way, once we're finished with this feature, you also want to initialize a Git project, right? Or a Git repository so that you can keep track of the changes, because sometimes, well, Cursor just messes up the code and maybe you didn't pay attention and then you don't know how to, well, fix this, and essentially you need to start over. So you want to properly keep track of your project. Okay, so let's have a look at YouTube Handler. So essentially it did a bunch of changes. I have absolutely no idea what they do because I'm bad at Python and index manipulation, but we'll just trust Cursor with this one. So let's read through the answer. I've updated the get transcript chunks function with these key changes. Keep track of all segments that contribute to each chunk using current segments. Use the first segment start time as the chunk start time. Then we have the chunk creation, create chunks of approximately 1024 characters, improve text processing, yada, yada, yada. So let's hit accept, and what I will do is I will delete the database document and then I will run this again. So let me quickly do this. Nothing much has changed, right? We still have the start and end time of 0, and we still only get one transcript chunk. And it also says failed to index for the third video. Okay, so you can always look at the database. And the way you want to do this is first you need to head over to ChromaDB, and then you want to run SQLite 3 Chroma SQLite. This will enter SQLite. Then what you need to do is headers on, and we also want to display all of the tables, and then we can have a look at embeddings queue. So let's first select everything from embeddings queue. Now this will probably show a bunch of gibberish, but just so we can see. Okay, yeah, unfortunately we do add one big chunk. So let's see, video ID, indexed at so-and-so, document, guys, it's insane. So start time 0, end time 0. There's something off with the mapping for some reason. And we only store one big text chunk. So this is definitely not correct. So let's have a look at the embeddings. So select everything from embeddings. Yeah, okay, that's not right. Okay. This didn't work at all. I mean, we still only store the text as one big chunk, and the mapping also doesn't work properly. So the start time is 0, the end time is 0, and maybe you can add a bit more logging so that we can understand what actually is going on, but we need to make this work. So please use chain of thought reasoning to find the core issue and then resolve it and walk me through it step by step. So again, we can delete the database, right? Because, well, we have to do a few test runs. So first, let's understand what we get from LangChain's YouTube loader. So we add logging. This is kind of like normal devs, or at least I imagine normal devs would work like this, right? They probably run tests and so on, but sometimes they will also use log statements, maybe. Please don't roast me in the comments if you hear this and this is completely wrong. We somehow need a way to understand what is going wrong at what point so that we can pass more data to Cursor to let it help us fix it, okay? So I've added extensive logging, so we'll run the command again. First, we have to cd into the correct project directory, right? So let's see, do we actually get a bit more information? Yeah, okay, so chunk size, chunk 193,000 characters. Okay, so apparently there's a bunch to resolve. So let me quickly grab all of this, paste it. Okay, so here are the terminal logs. As you can see, we only store one big chunk and the start and end time is still 0. So could you please go ahead and further improve the code and fix the issues? I see two major issues. The transcript is coming as a single segment. No shit. The metadata only contains the source, not the timestamps we need. We're getting one huge chunk instead of our desired 1024 character chunks. Let's fix this. Kinda already told you to fix it, right? So using YouTube's loaded transcript format parameter to get proper timestamps. Let's see. So unfortunately, Cursor went ahead and changed LangChain's YouTube loader to the YouTube transcript API, and this is not correct, right? So we definitely need to reject the changes. So we need to reject the file and we need to head back over here. We need to make it work with LangChain's YouTube loader. Don't just change the package to YouTube API or something. Make it work. Please refer to LangChain if you must. But again, I don't want to use the standard chunking method of 30-second. I want to have the chunk size of 1024 characters, right? If you need to create additional functions to further process the initial chunks that we get from YouTube Loader, please do it. If you can solve it programmatically inside of the specific functions, do that. Just find a solution. Yes, continue and revert. So this is also not correct, I believe. Let's have a look at LangChain Loader. Okay, yeah, indeed it is called chunks. So let's see if this works this time. But again, we're using the chunk size 30 seconds. So we'll see about that one, right? So let's do accept. And we want to delete that once more. This time we get something. 907 characters, start time and end time. Okay. Okay, this looks decent. It says failed to index. Error adding video to collection. Expected IDs to be unique. Found duplicates. Okay. Again, this is probably the last iteration that we need to run. We need to copy that. Not the long one, but we want to copy that. As you can see, it works now, but at the end it says failed to index. Expected IDs to be unique. So we almost have it. Can you just go ahead and fix this one last error, and then I want to test the feature again. I see in the ChromaDB error message is saying we have a duplicate IDs. This is happening because we're using the same timestamp for multiple chunks. We need to make IDs unique for each chunk. Let's modify the code to create unique IDs. Now let's delete those two again, and then we'll run this one more time. It seems as if we successfully add the transcript to the database. We have a start and an end time, and it should work now. So let me quickly check. Successfully indexed. Okay, so let's verify this by again going into ChromaDB, and then we run SQLite 3. This looks pretty decent. Nice. Great. So as you can see, we have the video ID, we have the video URL, we have the title, we have the description, and let me scroll down a bit. We also have the correct times and the duration and basically everything that we need. Great. Okay. Now we can finally head back over to the next thing, which is creating our AgentCrew. So essentially in this process, we won't need Cursor Composer as much because, well, actually we don't have to write a lot of code because all that is abstracted away by AgentStack and the underlying CrewAI framework. Let's have a look at the config files. Now, as you can see here, inside of the agents.yaml file, we have our Alex agent, and we also have the Hello World tasks from earlier that we deleted from main.py, if you remember, right? I'm sorry, that we deleted from crew.py. Now, we actually need to create 3 agents, and those agents are called, if you remember, the researcher agent, the editor agent, and the writer agent. And the way how you would do this is make sure that you're in the correct directory, and then you want to run AgentStack, generate agent, and you want to give your agent a name. In this case, it's called researcher agent, and you want to hit enter. And now you can run the update because remember, we need the agentstack.json file, and we didn't have this before we created the project, so the update wouldn't have worked. So let's see if this runs without an error. So let's do yes. This will probably take a few seconds because we need to resolve a lot of dependencies. So I will get back to you once this is finished. Okay, so we successfully updated AgentStack, and now we can run the command again. It will probably prompt us to again update AgentStack, but I don't know why. So let's see. For whatever reason, it prompts us to update again, although we are using the correct version, right? 0.2.5.1. I have absolutely no idea. So we'll do no. And now we need to use, we need to change a base model, and we will go with GPT-4o, although we'll be using GPT-4o mini. But for now, let's just use that one. And now, as you can see, two things happen. So first of all, as you can see inside of Crew.py, the new researcher agent appeared, and the same is true for the agents.yaml file. Here we also have the researcher agent. Now we can delete this one, and we want to change this to GPT-4o mini. And now we also want to create the task, right? And the task for this agent is called research video content. And it's kind of the same, but instead of agent, we use task, and we do research video content, and we'll hit enter. Now this will do exactly the same, and unfortunately I have a small typo there. So let's head back over to tasks. As you can see, we have the research video content task. So let's quickly remove the typo, and the correct agent is already linked, as you can see, researcher agent. And let's head back over to Crew.py and also fix the typo here. And now you can basically do the same for the other agents. So we need the writer agent, and we need the editor agent, and we also need the tasks format response and validate response. So I will quickly do this off camera, and then we'll proceed with the next steps. I've created the other agent. As you can see, we have the writer agent, we have the editor agent, and the tasks, format response, and validate response. Now, the only thing that we need to do now is we need to edit the agents.yaml file and the tasks.yaml file. Now, to keep this video short, I will just paste the agents.yaml file from my other project, and I want to make sure that I give it the correct name, so it's researcher agent. And I will do the same for the tasks.yaml file, and then we'll quickly walk through the files. So let's change this to researcher agent. This is essentially where the magic of AgentStack and, as I've said, the underlying CrewAI framework lies. So the only thing you have to do is you have to define the role, goal, and backstory of each agent, and also the description and the expected output of each task. Now, as you can see here, it says you are a research agent specialized in searching and retrieving relevant information from video transcripts based on the user's query, and this becomes important later on, right? So this here will be substituted by the user's query that he asks the bot, if that makes sense. Okay, I promise it will all make sense later on. I will walk you through the code. I will explain everything. The meat and potatoes of this markup or markdown, whatever you want to call it, is this part in the writer agent. So it says you're a conversational writing agent who excels at transforming technical information into engaging, friendly dialogue while maintaining accuracy to answer the user's query. And this part here is vital, because this will help us to display the answer in a certain way inside of Discord. And essentially what this will do is it will display the answer like so. As you can see, we have AI response at the top, then we have the answer with the specific timestamps from the video, and we also have a video info section where we can click on the watch here button, and we will be redirected to the YouTube video, to the specific section of the video that answered this query, right? And the initial query or question was how to plan my AI coding project. And now you know why it was so important that we get the timestamp and all of the metadata right, because otherwise we wouldn't have the ability to skip to the correct part of the video, right? Now, usually how you would create those YAML files is you would head over to Perplexity or any other LLM. I just like to use Perplexity because it can search the web to actually understand what AgentStack is and what are the correct specifications for the YAML files. And then you just describe your project and tell it, write the role, goal, and backstory for each agent, and do the same for the tasks.yaml file. And this is essentially how I created those files. And this is everything we need to do to get our crew up and running. We still need to do a few more things. So for example, we need to create a custom tool so that our research agent can actually access the data from the database, right? And we will call this Chroma tool, and we will create it inside of the tools folder that you can see here, right? The folder where we deleted the search file tool from, if you remember. So before I walk you through the actual prompt, let's head over to the CrewAI documentation and let's have a look at the how-to guides, specifically at the create custom tool guide. And here you can see that we essentially have two different options for creating a tool. First, we can use the subclassing method where we basically create the custom tool and inherit from the base tool. And we need to give it a name, a description, and we also need to pass args schema, which is for input validation. And this here essentially will be replaced by our user query. Okay, so this is important. I haven't used the tool decorator option, so I can't really say much about it, but keep this here in mind. So we head back over to Cursor and we'll paste the prompt, and it says create a Python script that implements a CrewAI tool for searching video transcript in ChromaDB. Create it in, and we want to link the tools folder and call it, we'll go with Chroma tool. Make sure that it works with, and we want to link all of the other files that we have created so far, right? So Chroma Manager, index, channel, and also, well, we don't have to use the YouTube handler, but just for good measure, let's link that too. And then it says, let me make this a bit bigger so I can actually scroll. For some reason, this is messed up. So let's collapse this. Include the required imports, the base model, Pydantic base model field, custom Chroma Manager from Chroma Manager. We want to link this one more time, so let's do it like so. And we want to collapse this. Define a Pydantic schema class. Create a Chroma search tool class that inherits from base tool, defines class attributes, name, description, and so on. And here's the arg schema that we need, right? And then we call the parent constructor, initialize Chroma Manager instance, and so on. And well, this is essentially everything that we need to do. So again, with each prompt, you want to be as specific as possible, right? So let's hit submit, and then we'll see what Cursor comes up with. And we probably have to do a little bit of manual editing, but that's not a big deal. I'll help you create the Chroma tool. And unfortunately, AgentStack and even CrewAI are quite new, right? So Cursor doesn't always have up-to-date documentation. So sometimes you want to actually go ahead and read through the documentation, maybe paste relevant code snippets into Cursor so that Cursor has more data to work with. And you want to do the same with AgentStack, right? So let's have a look at the file. You can see that we have the Chroma search schema and we inherit from the base model. This is correct. And then we have the Chroma search tool with the name, description, and also the arg schema, which is also correct. And then we create the Chroma Manager. We have extract query with the argument, and basically we check for different keys. This will make sense in a bit because we won't be able to run this probably because we get some errors, but I will walk you through it. So we have format results, and we also have the run function, which essentially runs this search tool, if that makes sense. So let's see. This looks good to me, except for one small thing, but we'll see about that once we try to run this tool. So let's do accept, and now we need to give our agent, or at least our researcher agent, access to the tool, right? So we'll head over to Crew and scroll up to the researcher agent, and here you can see we have the tools variable. So first you want to import the tool, so from tools, Chroma tool, import Chroma search tool, but we want to import it like so. And then you want to pass this here, and Cursor should already autocomplete this like so. And now we can probably do a test run. It won't work because we get some errors, but I want to show you what errors so you can debug them and understand them. So let's do AgentStack run. So first of all, it says failed to import project, no module named tools.fileread. Okay, so we have to go to init here and we have to delete it. I forgot about that when I deleted the file read tool. So let's try that again. Attempted relative import beyond top level package. And whenever you get an error like this, you can just ask cursor. So let's copy that and paste it here and say, I get the following error. Can you please use chain of thought reasoning to explain where this comes from and then also propose a fix? Now, you can just give me the code here in chat. Don't change any of the files. I want to do it manually. I want to paste this. Looking at our imports in Chroma tool, this is relative import going up 2 levels, which is causing the issue. Why is this happening? Python's relative imports work based on the package structure. When we try to use point to or dot to go up levels, Python needs to know what the top level package is. This happens when the project structure isn't properly set up as a Python package. To fix this, we need to make sure our project is a proper Python package, change the relative imports to absolute imports, and ensure that we have init.py files in the right places. So first, change the import in Chroma tool from relative to absolute, and let's see, maybe this already resolves the issue. Okay, so let's see if this already did the trick. Okay, as you can see, we get yet another error, and again, you just want to copy paste this into cursor. Again, please help me to resolve this. Just paste the code inside of the chat. I want to fix it manually and explain step by step where this error comes from. I mean, again, I could do this manually, right? Because I've already built the project and I know what this specific error is. But, well, what's the point? I mean, this is a tutorial so that you can learn how to build software with cursor. Okay, so let's have a look. This is happening because Chroma search tool inherits from base tool, which is a Pydantic model. In Pydantic v2, all class attributes need to be declared as fields. We're trying to set self.chroma manager here in init without declaring it first. To fix this, we need to declare Chroma Manager as a class field using Pydantic's field declaration. Okay, and the way we would do this is, let me quickly check, where is it? Chroma Manager is a field, so let's copy that and we'll head back here and we'll paste this and we'll save it. And then we'll run this again, but we will get yet another error. As you can see, it says unable to generate Pydantic core schema for class yada yada yada, set arbitrary types allow true. So the reason why I wanted to show you this is because, well, cursor doesn't know everything, right? And especially for AgentStack and the underlying CrewAI framework, those things are quite new and there hasn't been enough data to extensively train cursor, so to speak, which is why you want to use your brain. And again, what you need to do is you actually need to do it like so. I've found this in the Pydantic documentation. Actually, it took me quite a while. So this is exactly what the error told us to do. So set arbitrary types allowed to true. We do this here in the model config. And we also want to add this line here. And now we can run AgentStack run again. We still won't get the correct result. We will get something, but not what we want. So let me show you. Actually, let's wait for a moment. So as you can see, we fetched the transcript. So this functionality is working. But the problem with that is if we scroll up, we get something, we get the transcript. But unfortunately, if you look at the tool input, it says argument. And this means that we don't pass a search query to the search tool, right? Keep in mind, this isn't yet connected to the bot. So we need to somehow pass in a question manually. So how do we do this? For that, you want to head over to main, and inside of the instance.kickoff method, you can see that it says inputs. And here we want to add a dictionary and we need to call it argument. And as you can see, cursor already auto-completes this for me. So let's just use tell me about DeepSeek. Is this video about DeepSeek? I don't know. Okay, so we'll see if that works. But essentially, this is what we need to do. So let me clear this and then let's do AgentStack run again. And now we should finally get something back from the LLM. So let me see. Okay. It says you're a research agent, yada, yada, yada. And tool input says, tell me about DeepSeek. We get some errors, but well, sometimes I don't know what's happening under the hood. Sometimes it needs a few retries, but as you can see, we now get a video transcript and we get information to DeepSeek with the correct video title and so on, and also a relevance score. Okay, and the answer we get is DeepSeek is a groundbreaking API tailored for content creators, think YouTubers and TikTokers, essentially revolutionizing how they generate and refine their content ideas. And this is kind of true, right? If we scroll up and we read through the corresponding text chunks, you can see that it says, access the DeepSeek API to analyze the transcript titles and thumbnails and generate new ideas based on this info. The overall problem I'm aiming to solve is that I want to give creators back their time that usually goes in the idea finding process so that they can focus on the creation process instead. And again, make sure that they have disabled blah, 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 blah. Okay, so essentially the RAG agent works. Now, again, it's more about crafting the correct role, goal, and backstory. But other than that, it works. You could probably further enhance the results, but well, that's kind of above my pay grade, so to speak. I still have to learn a lot when it comes to improving this. But now that we finally set up everything that we need, and we have to further analyze why we don't get the specific timestamp, right? So maybe it's just because of the prompt, but let's see. So we should get the timestamp, right? So we have the relevance score. Okay, so there is no timestamp saved. Okay, we'll definitely have to investigate this, why that is the case. Okay guys, so I had to do a little bit of debugging, but now as you can see, we get the correct result. So streamline your AI coding projects by adopting a structured approach divided into 3 key phases. First, tackle requirements by creating detailed specifications. Then we get the timestamp, and we also get the URL and the correct timestamps. Now the issue was that we, as you can see here, I used cursor to debug it. As you can see in Chroma Manager, we stored the data with start and end, not with start underscore time, which you can see here, but start and end. But in query collection, as you can see here, we are storing with start underscore time, end underscore time. But then I basically tried to access the data like so, and this apparently didn't work, right? So we need start underscore end time, and we also need end underscore time like so. And then we get the correct results and everything is working nicely. Now we can finally proceed with the bot.py script. So let's have a look at the prompt. We want to create a Discord bot, so let me make this a bit bigger, that implements a RAG retrieval system for answering questions about video content. It has to work with our overall project, and we want to link the Discord agent folder, right? So include the required imports, so Discord and the other modules that we need to basically access the Discord servers. We also want to create a rate limiter class because we don't want users to spam the bot with, I don't know, hundreds of queries per minute. And we need to configure a SSL context for Discord.py because we actually need a secure connection to be able to connect to Discord. So set up Discord intents, initialize rate limiter and our AgentCrew. Set up tracking for processing users and interactions, include these methods. So setup hook, process reg query, ask, and this is the / command that we will create, right? And we also add rate limiting checks. We need duplicate interaction prevention, user concurrent processing prevention, and a bunch of other stuff. So the Discord message formatting, we want to have embeds for all responses, include loading messages with sqrt, format stems, and queries, handle Discord character limits. And we also want to add the following features. Rate limiting, as I've said, we already have this. And now we want to tell it, please create the files inside of source, and we'll call it Discord. And we want to link the source folder, right? So let's see if that works. We probably should get a few files. Namely, we should get we should get bot.py, and we also should get the rate limiter.py And well, that's about it. So let me see if that works. We run the command. Okay, we create a new folder, call it Discord. And now we create the rate limiter and all of the other files. Meanwhile, cursor is running. We need to head over to the browser. And here you want to enter Discord developer. And then you want to go to the developer portal. You have to log in with your Discord account. And then you want to click on build your first Discord app. And this will redirect you to the Getting Started tab. And here you want to scroll down and click on Create App. And you want to give it a name. We'll give it the name Major Test. And we click on Create. Yes, I am human. And now we have created our first application. And we need a few things. So first of all, you want to head over to the bot tab on the left. And here you want to click Reset Token. Now, never give this token to anyone, right? You want to grab this and you want to head over to cursor once more. So cursor should now be finished. Let's have a look at the bot.py file. First of all, we want to accept all, and then we need to install discord.py. And this should resolve the import issue at the top, as you can see. And now let's have a look. So first of all, we initialize the rate limiter. We set up the crew, and this I'm not sure if this will work in that way, so we'll have to check about that. And then we define the setup hook. Okay, this seems to be correct. So we actually want to ask cursor to do something because we want to run the bot separately, right, from the AgentCrew. So let's head back over to Composer and tell it, okay, yeah, as a first draft, this looks nice. Could you please do the following and create a run.py function for the Discord bot, because I actually want to run it separately from the crew. I want to add the bot to the server, and then I want to use the /ask command to ask a query, and then I want to execute the bot, and I want to see the result in the terminal, if that makes sense, for our AgentCrew. So you want to hit enter. Hopefully cursor has understood what I want from it, so we'll see. It should create a new run.py file inside of Discord. Okay, so this is correct. Let me see. Okay, yeah, that looks kind of right. So I will quickly go ahead and grab the Discord bot token. By the way, I will revoke this once I'm done. Add it to my environment variables. So let me quickly do it like so. Discord token, and we want to paste that, save it. Now, let's see, start up and print its connection status. So let's do, we probably have to do it like so. It says cannot import name setup crew. That's exactly what I expected. So this doesn't really work. So let me quickly go to the bot, and then we need to import something else. Right, we need the Discord agent crew, and we also need to put that here. So Discord agent crew like so, but without the additional crew. I think it's like this, and then probably get another error. Missing sentinel object has no attribute. Okay, so let's check. I tried to run run.py, but I get this error. Could you please use chain of thought reasoning to determine the issue and then fix it and walk me through it step by step? So this is probably something to do with the SSL setup. Let me analyze the error. The error message says missing sentinel object has no attribute SSL. Looking at bot.py, I see the error is related to the SSL configuration for Mac OS. So where did we make the changes? Did we make any changes at all? The issue is that we're trying to access self-HTTP connector before it's initialized in the discord.py client. So I'm not sure if this already fixed our problem, but let's see. We get something. Error running bot shard ID is requesting privileged intents that have not been explicitly enabled. Okay, yeah. So the problem with that is that we need to head back over to our bot and we need to enable those three here. So let me make this a bit bigger. Privileged gateway intents. So we have to enable presence intent, server members intent, and also message content intent. So save changes. And then let's try to run that again. You can see connected as major test bot ID, and now we can click the link and then open it, and then we will be redirected to Discord. So continue to Discord. Let me see. Yeah, okay. So click continue and authorize. Yes, I'm human. And now, as you can see, the Discord bot is on our server. And let me see if we have the ask command already. No, we don't have it. So we probably have to run this one more time, propagate the changes. Let me see. If not, we probably have to ask Cursor once more. Ah, okay. I think the issue is, well, we have to go back here. I forgot something. So we need to enable send messages. We also need to embed links, and we also need one more thing, use /commands like so. And now we need to copy this, and actually we need to invite the bot once more. So sorry about that. So let me quickly pick him. You want to open that, but you want to change this permissions like so. Continue in Discord. And now again, let's okay, use application commands. Okay, now this is the correct one. So I'm human, and now we should probably be able to see the ask command, and there it is, as you can see here. Great. Sorry about that. There was a little bit of back and forth. My brain wasn't working properly. And now let's see, how can I plan my AI coding projects? So we'll see if this works right away. Probably not, but well, we're almost there, guys. So if we send this, we get an error. Okay, but do we see something in the console? It says rep class object has no attribute process query. So from here, it's just copying and say, I tried to execute the ask command inside of Discord, but I get this error. I see the error occurs because we're using Discord AgentCrew directly, but we need to use setup crew. Okay, I'm not sure about this. Let's see if I was the one who broke the code. But because this solution is a little bit different from the other solution I have, okay? So sometimes I get a little bit confused, but let's see if this was already the solution to our problem. So again, we run the Discord bot. Yeah, okay, it doesn't work. Cannot import setup crew from... So this didn't work. Here's the error. Well, this is exactly what I mean, right? Since everything is so new, Cursor is not using the correct stuff. Now, as you can see, we're using Discord AgentCrew again, and this is why I changed it initially. But let's see. So apparently we have to import that from source.crew. And let's see if this works. Probably not. So the bot is online, and we ask the question once more, and we run into an issue immediately. Well, okay, so the error was, well, kind of obvious, unfortunately, and I'm not sure if I would have been able to resolve it with Cursor. So you remember in the beginning when we I'm sorry. So you remember in main.py when we passed this here, so we need a way to somehow pass this input inside of the bot, right? So the way we do this is by going to the bot, and this was correct from the beginning. And here you want to initialize the crew. And if we scroll down to the process rec query function, we then need to call the crew with the query. And here we want to basically enter the dictionary, right, with argument and query, what we did prior to that in main.py, if you remember. Okay, and now as you can see, the bot is working. Initialized, then I pass the query, and it says, how can I plan my AI coding projects? We run through the whole thing, and this is unfortunately the answer. So we don't get anything. And the reason for that is apparently there seems to be something wrong with processing the query where it says CrewOutput object has no attribute get. So again, we'll copy that, we'll paste it here. I will probably fix this manually too. I just want to see if Cursor can help me resolve it. So we want to, let me grab all of this and paste it here. So it works. I found a solution, and the bot can actually communicate with the crew, and we get something back, as you can see in the result. But then we have an error processing the query where it says crew output object has no attribute get. Could you please go ahead and resolve this for me? The crew's response is a crew output object, not a dictionary, so we can't use the get function. So we need to convert this to a string right? And then we can probably display everything. So let's do accept, and we'll restart the bot once more. And again, we'll do how can I plan my AI coding projects? We hit run. It says searching through video transcripts. We run the crew, and actually this looks pretty nice. Okay, we found 5 relevant segments. Let's give it a bit more time. Fingers crossed, guys. Hopefully this works. Okay, so for some reason we haven't fetched the video URL. So again, this is not 100% solution, right? But if we run this again, so let me try that if it works the second time. And obviously I still haven't uploaded the bot to the Discord server, right? Because those are essentially the errors that I sometimes get. So I still have to add a few more error handling things there. But other than that, this looks pretty neat. Okay, so this time it worked, as you can see here. Okay, great. AI coding will make you jump. Here's what to do instead. To effectively plan your AI coding projects, begin by crafting detailed specifications, and we get the timestamps. And if we click the link, we jump to the correct section of the video, which is great. Finally. Okay, this kind of ends our tutorial. So the next thing you would need to do is to, well, find a service where you can host the bot. But really, I haven't done this myself yet. So I will probably upload another video in the future where I'm going to show you how to do this, or some kind of smaller tutorial. But other than that, this is how you can build a RAG agent with Cursor and, well, put it as a bot on a Discord server. Now, unfortunately, as you can see, sometimes the roadblocks I had felt, well, kind of weird, because sometimes Cursor wouldn't understand the documentation, basically Cursor things, right? But sometimes it's harder to debug if you work with newer frameworks and newer tools like AgentStack, for example, because as I've said, Cursor doesn't have enough data to completely understand how to work with them. And I can't stress this enough. You still have to understand how you can manually debug the code, or at least where you can find possible solutions. And you mostly find those solutions in the documentation of the libraries and modules that you're using. Okay, thanks for your attention. And other than that, I'll see you in the next video.